Welcome back to the Live with Grace podcast, where we discuss sports, lessons, and life as athletes, professionals, creators, dreamers, and leaders. I'm Grace Byer, and I'm your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Live with Grace podcast, or the Live with Grace podcast. I'm going to start introing it like that since there's an ongoing debate about the title. Today I'm on the show with Elijah Melendez, who is a Division I football player at McNeese State University, and he is a former football player at Valdosta State, that's where I met Elijah, and he's actually one of the first people that I asked when I was thinking about starting the podcast, so one of the OGs got me started with this. But today on the podcast, we're going to be discussing the importance of having ambitious goals and trusting Plan A. And this podcast was first inspired we were talking about this one time, I think, and that's kind of how we decided to talk about this as the topic for the podcast. But also it was inspired by a tweet. And the tweet is by Earth2Gazelle, and it says, "God always sends me back to the original design. Plan A literally never fails. It just requires patience and passion." So that is the topic for today. But before we get into that, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, Elijah?
I mean, you kind of covered most of the collegiate stuff. Let's see. I transferred here to McNeese, Lake Charles, Louisiana, in the spring of this year. I had spent two years at Valdosta State in Georgia, freshman sophomore year. I'm starting my junior year. I played football in high school, pretty much since I can remember playing sports, in middle school as well. So we got that. But yeah, that's pretty much all about me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. What's I guess, just in line with the topic, what is your personal experience like with planning and setting goals and as it relates to football?
I feel like having a set goal whenever you're trying to figure out if you actually do want to play football, because that's also a big thing. Because whenever you're starting out trying to figure out what sport you want to play, you got to figure out if you really like it. So, but
I would say that's
also,
definitely true once you get to college. Like, you gotta
yes,
really like it to be
because
doing
you have to
all the
be
stuff you
really
gotta do.
like dedicated to your
Yeah,
sport. You can't just
definitely.
wing it. You got to be fully invested because it's a career choice basically.
Right. And it's a
But
lot of things and a lot of days where there's things you're not gonna want to do, and like your love for that sport has to be strong enough to keep you there, you know?
mhm. And it's not just about the sport as well. You really have to think about what you can do. It's like when I say football is a career choice, I don't mean that literally. I mean like you have to treat it like it is the job because it's that important to you. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also aspects where you have to follow, or you have to think about what you're gonna do after your sport. It could. This is just talking generally of whatever sport you play. You have to, because that's what you're going to college for. You're not just going to college to play the sport. You have to figure out a plan. We're going to study. How you're going to get there. Internships, connections. That's really a big thing. A lot of people are missing out on planning about.
Mm-hmm.
Kids who coming out of high school. They're really only thinking
Definitely.
about just playing sports.
Did you always know that your goal was to play in college with football?
Yes. After playing in middle school, I was like, set goal, childhood
Mm-hmm.
dream, and now I'm living it. It's great. But
That's awesome.
there's definitely been times where I was tested on whether if it was right for me. I'm sure a lot of athletes have that experience or experiences,
Mm-hmm.
or struggle with it. But yeah, it's always been it's a goal, and I'm still living it. I'm not done yet.
Yeah. Yeah, facts. Um, so you could say that playing football in college, that was always like your plan A, like as it relates to the podcast topic,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So just kind of getting into like the first main topic with this podcast. Do you think that having a plan B, like say you had another, say that your plan B was just going to, or not playing football, maybe doing something else, I don't know. Do you think that having a plan B means that you don't fully trust in plan A?
Um, it could lead to like doubt, like, am I really making the right choice? Second guessing yourself, but really just having one set goal is always good because you always have to have a goal in order to achieve anything you want, um,
Mhm.
or to be successful in whatever you're doing. But to have like a fallback plan, because like I don't want to say fallback, but you really have to think about um, what comes with playing in your sport. Injury, possibility of just being finished, eligibility that always runs out, and some people, that's really hard for people to play professionally. So just to have a plan B, as what we're referring to, is what I think is a finding a job, like figuring
Mhm.
out your career, what you're going to study for, what you want your degree to be. Um, that's usually what I keep in mind when I think of plan A, plan B. But
Gotcha.
all, but always, but what I always keep in my plans is kind of put them together because I don't want to like separate the two and kind of have them just, oh, it's only football, it's only sports, and it's only school, and only get a job. I
Mhm.
kind of treat it as they coincide with each other. Like, I'm playing
Yeah,
football to get a degree, and in order to keep playing football, I have to do good in school. So,
right. That's what I was kind of thinking about because I feel like your career or where you're going with football or where you're going with your degree that you get paid for by playing football, I feel like that could be looped into your plan A because that's still like part of your ultimate goal. You know what I mean? Um, when I was preparing for this podcast, I was looking at some different opinions, and there's a lot of different opinions about this topic of if you should have a plan B or if you shouldn't. Because,
hmm.
like, one website I was looking at was saying that once you begin thinking about having a quote unquote fallback plan, then your desire and your, um, I guess, belief in that original goal decreases. But it's a debate because then some people say that being too sure of yourself or whatever cockiness or arrogance that you might have or confidence in that main goal might backfire. But it's kind of a debate, and I kind of lean more toward like the tweet plan A never fails. You just have to be patient and you have to pour your heart and soul into that goal and it might not look exactly how you thought it's going to look, but I think when people start getting into preparing for their plan to fail, then it's almost I don't know the right word to use, but it's kind of like sabotage of your original plan. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I wouldn't know because the reason for a plan B is to really give yourself more of, I don't want to say like cushion, or like a
Mhm.
fallback plan, or like a way to be like, oh, okay, if this doesn't work out, it's whatever. I always have this other plan to do or something else I can do, because that, like you said, it it takes away your focus on your main goal, plan A. But
Mhm.
to be overly ambitious, I wouldn't say is cockiness. Like
Yeah.
there's always a line drawn to where people say, "Oh, you're too way overconfident, or you're just full of yourself." But confidence
Mhm.
is definitely key to being as successful as you want to be, as far as you want to take yourself.
Yeah.
Because if
And
you're,
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You froze for a second.
no, it's okay. Uh, I was just gonna say, having that type of confidence in yourself, believing that, oh, I know my goal is set and that I am achieving it, and that if I keep going, I'll be able to set other goals for myself. Because you can't just set
Mhm.
one goal and then when you're done, you're just like, what else do I do?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
is this it for me?
Mhm.
You can't just stuck. But if you're constantly setting goals and setting uh raising the bar for yourself and then
Mhm.
achieving it, I think that adds to your confidence or cockiness. But I don't think
Yeah.
it's really that big
No,
of a
I
deal.
wouldn't I wouldn't really consider it like cocky. I just feel like that's what some people see it as, and I almost think that that comes from their own fear. Like if somebody's projecting their own like insecurity or fear onto your dream or your plan A and saying like, "Oh, I don't really know if that's going to work out for you. You should also look at this or this or this in case that doesn't work." Like that's them projecting their own fear onto your original dream. And really all you need to do is continue to pour your belief into that original plan and not feed into that other um, voice that might sound like they have good intention or might not even realize that they're coming from a place of fear or that they're projecting that onto you. But yeah, I agree with you in that having confidence and continuing to raise the bar for yourself and not ever giving up or giving and continuing to be patient with that goal, and that is always going to serve you more than continuing to or more than preparing to fail would, which is kind of like how I see having a plan B is. So, to get into the next topic, it's about being realistic because that also kind of ties into this. A lot of times people phrase having a plan B or having a fallback plan as, oh, you got to be realistic. Like that goal is just too big or that's too hard or you're not able to do that. Look at what you went through. Look at all this stuff you're dealing with. Have you ever ran into people like that that are constantly trying to be realistic or logical?
Um, Not in my experience. I know a lot of people as I've been playing collegiate sports. I've met plenty of people who have tried to overcome that kind of adversity where they haven't really had anyone in their corner per se
Mhm.
and be like a support system.
Mhm.
Because I've kind of had my own support system, and they've always told my parents, and they've always said, just keep working, like prove them wrong. Like
Mhm.
whoever says you can't do something or you're not able to, you don't have the ability to, you're not smart enough, strong, fast, anything like that. There's definitely people out there who put others down because they want to build themselves up or they're already down themselves.
Mhm.
Um, and things like that make it hard for young athletes to, get that confidence to be 100%, trusting in their plan
Mhm.
instead of just second guessing themselves and then end up not knowing what they want to do.
Mhm.
Plenty of athletes who end up do go into college don't know what they want to study, don't know what they want their degree. They just know, well,
Mhm.
I'm going to play my sport and I'll figure it out as long as I go. I'll do whatever I am potentially capable of instead of just trying to push myself to strive for more. Because
Mhm.
that's mainly the goal, is to push yourself to, develop yourself to a different person.
Mhm.
Because you will change the more you reach your goal. And if you're just the same exact person as you were whenever you graduated high school or after your first year of college, your second year, even semester, it's you need to see a difference in progress. I think that's when you really do see yourself succeed.
I agree. I don't think I could put into words the amount of growth that I've experienced starting basketball, since playing in high school, since playing in college. It's things you can't really put your finger on, but you're kind of naturally just molded and shaped, and you grow through it, through the experience of playing college sports. But I definitely have experienced that type of thing in my life. I'm not going to get too in depth with that, but
Hmm.
I just see that not just for athletes, but just in general, the phrase like being realistic, I kind of see it as a mask for someone hiding their fear and saying, oh, like you have to think of things in the natural, you have to think of things in how they were in the past. Like to be great at something, whether it's sports, whether it's your career, like you were saying, your career is important too. There's some athletes that do figure it out. There's some athletes that don't know what they want to do right away with school. That's okay. But there definitely is benefits to having direction. But even when it comes to those career goals, like you have to be able to like believe boldly in what you want to do. And like what you said, with you having that support system and those people in your corner all the time, like I could say the same thing for me. And I think it's one of the things that I take most for granted, even when I'm so grateful for the people in my life, but I feel like I feel like it should just be like overwhelming gratitude for that, because there's just some people that don't have that type of support, you know?
Hmm.
Um, it kind of was my topic of one of my first podcasts called Balcony People. And your balcony people are people that are going to be there for you and push you and pick you up when you're even feeling down about your own dream or your own vision. And they're not going to discourage you, type of thing. So that really sounds like kind of what your parents and your family did for you. And that's awesome.
Hmm. I was very fortunate to have them as my parents. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Like especially it's not just people who support you, but people who push you to
Yeah.
new heights. Like my little brother, he's only a year younger than me. He's 19, but as we're growing up, we played every sport together. Middle school, we would try basketball, t-ball, flag football, tackle, and we'd always compete. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's another reason why I was able to push myself to, just become better at whatever I set my mind to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, words of affirmation from people who are close to you, yeah, that's that's always gonna bring up your confidence. I
Mm-hmm.
feel even just a simple like you're doing like I'm proud of how far you've come or
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I feel like that will go a long way. But having someone there to push your limits, to make you want to be better at whatever you're doing, I feel like that will make the difference between just going through the motions of whatever goal you have set to really striving to be successful.
Definitely. It's those people that hold you to the standard that
Hmm.
you set for yourself. Like one of the examples that we talked about in that podcast about balcony people was, say you get like a C on your test or something and you could have got an A. Your balcony people aren't people that are going to say, "Oh, good job, like you did great." They're going to be like, "No, like you need to study, you need to do this."
Hmm.
Those It's people that say they see something in you that you might not even see in yourself, and when they see that you might be down, when they see you might not be applying yourself as you should be to reach that goal, they're those people that are going to kind of hold you to that. And I think that it's so, like we've already said, but it's so important to have those types of people when you are an ambitious person, because there are times that you're going to be tested. Inevitably, you're going to face something, you're going to face some challenge, you're going to
Hmm.
face some adversity, and you're going to get through it if you have that strong belief in yourself and you have the patience and you have the perseverance. But the support system is kind of that extra push that I think propels you to actually stay on track to that
Hmm.
goal, whatever it is.
And
Um,
to and
oh,
to
sorry.
oh, I don't know if we're
You're good.
sensitive topic.
No, you're
But
good.
because I was gonna add, it's not always gonna be someone close to you per
Mhm.
se. It's gonna be like your coach or like your teammates. Because through high school, through being in college at Valdosta, and then being here at McNeese, I've always gotten close either to my coaches or to some players, and they've always either kept me accountable or kept me trying to strive to be better. Because it's not only
Mhm.
just you know family, friends. It's gonna be people who you interact with every day,
Right.
and those people are probably the most impactful because you're seeing them every day. You're gonna be
Mhm.
constantly reminded of your goal because you can't just forget about why you're there.
Right.
You gotta see they show you how good you could be and how good you're gonna be. That's all it is.
Right. And I think it, like you said, it's not always people that are closest to you. I think sometimes it almost means more if it's somebody isn't related to you or isn't super close with you because they don't have anything to gain, you know? Like it they're not going to be the ones that get to post on Facebook, "Oh, like my little Elijah did this today or that," you know? Like
Right.
they're just
Yeah.
doing it because they see something in you and
hmm
they want you to be great, you know? They want
hmm
you to master whatever you're striving toward. They want you to fulfill your potential and it just I can just say like where I am right now, like as far as coaching and like the people around me, it feels so good just to feel like supported and feel like, you're surrounded by people that are pushing you to continuously get better and stay focused and stay disciplined and be your best and show up every single day, you know?
hmm
Um, so kind of along with that, what do you think is the best way that athletes can learn to trust and lean on plan A without allowing that fear to get in the way?
Ooh, I would say I don't want to say rely on like how we said before with the support system. I would
Mhm.
say take it one step at a time. There's this one piece of advice that I still remember to this day. It was my freshman year math teacher. I had I completely bombed a test or some homework, and instead of just giving me a bad grade or just failing me, he gave me this piece of advice. He's like, "How do you eat an elephant?" And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, one piece at a time."
Mhm.
And he sort of it kind of sort of got me thinking I could apply that to other things in my life instead of just school or math.
Mhm.
Um, taking each day at a time, taking each practice, each each workout, everything. Like you can't just overwhelm yourself with how much you have to do, but what you're doing right now. You gotta kind of get got to keep yourself in the moment, but also, like you said, have a long term goal, but not just overcrowd yourself with, oh, I got to do this today, or I got to go here, work out, I got to talk to my coach, tutor,
Right.
teacher, professor, I got to study, I got to eat as well. Um,
Mhm.
that's a lot of things that really stress out young athletes, and that comes with managing your time. And after
Mhm.
you figure that out, you could sort of plan and get into your own groove, your own routine of how you're going to do things. And once you get
Mhm.
in your groove and routine, things start flowing, they start clicking, and you're just like, okay, I'm starting to get a feel and develop myself. And after taking things one step at a time, I feel like
Mhm.
just slowing it down for yourself really just calms you down and makes things a little more manageable.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I actually just listened to something in line with that yesterday. It came up on my YouTube. It was like part of a sermon, and it was relating to your faith. Like, I would say also having faith is just a big part of that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with taking it one step at a time. But it was talking about how you completely let go of the future and That's so hard to do, like cuz
Hmm.
you still have your goal, you still have that plan, you still have that desire, that wish, that thing that you're striving to accomplish, but
Yeah.
it's the kind of gray area between having this goal and holding on to it so tightly and at the same time completely letting go of it and being in the moment and doing what you need to do in the moment, taking care of yourself, giving your best in the moment. Um, and I think that you can do those simultaneously. I think you can say, I have this desire and I'm going to keep this in my head. I'm going to keep this in my heart and I'm going to keep working toward it. But I trust how it's going to play out. And I trust I'm just going to take it, like you said, one step at a time, one day at a time. And I'm just going to give my best today. And I trust that if I continuously show up and give my best, then the plan is going to work out how it was supposed to.
And if things end up don't working out that day, or you end up hitting a roadblock, um, it's really hard to move past that type of uh, that situation, because
Mhm.
you kind of get yourself in stuck. You feel stuck. You feel overwhelmed. You feel like you're not going anywhere. And
Mhm.
um, being having that one little speed bump in your road to your goal, that that could set you back, like more than you think, because things will happen. Not everything will go your way.
Mhm.
That's just how life is. But if you trust in yourself and try to, I won't say move past it, but learn from it
Mhm.
and be able to grow from whatever mistake was made or whatever bad or terrible thing that happened. It doesn't even have to be something major. It could be like, I messed up during practice, or I missed this assignment for homework,
Mhm.
or I was late to a meeting. You can't really put that, have that weigh too much on yourself, because then you're just gonna keep it weighing you down and weighing you down. It's just gonna stack up. It's just
Mhm.
not gonna be healthy for you physically and mentally.
Yeah. And another thing that I heard recently that kind of changed my perspective on that, um, kind of, and I'm sure that you face this too since coming to a new school. There's days that you're frustrated, like you said, like you might have a bad drill or you might be overwhelmed with all like the commitments that you have with your sport, with school, with just life in general. Um, but it was another thing. I don't remember, I either read it or was listening to it. And this kind of also relates back to faith, is that God already knows that those things are going to happen in that way. And so that is really strange for me to think about, because
Yeah,
why would God want you to mess up? Why would God want you to miss a shot? Or why would he want you to feel overwhelmed? But it's kind of what you gain from learning, from working through that, is part of the plan too, you know? And I think it also relates again back to that tweet saying that plan A never fails. It just requires patience and passion. It just requires being patient, not just with a plan, but also with yourself. Patient with
hmm,
yourself when you don't get something right the first time, or patient with yourself and kind to yourself when you miss an assignment. Like,
yeah,
you'll be okay. You're doing your best, that type of thing. I think that those are also like important parts of trusting plan A. And of course, also like thinking in a way and acting in a way that sets you up for success. Like, obviously, if you don't eat right and you don't get enough sleep, and then you go and you're not performing well, like, I don't know if that's always part of the plan. But if you're doing your best every day, showing up,
yeah.
and you might make a mistake here or there, get overwhelmed here or there, it's all working for your good, and it's kind of having that patience and trust in that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely having that kind of having faith really helped me personally with dealing with mistakes, or when things got really stressful, or when I started getting overwhelmed with homework, football, and then just everyday life, take care of myself, uh, just stepping back and giving yourself a moment with God, and just you two just reflecting on like how you're doing. Because if you step
Mhm.
back and look at where you're at, you're really gonna you got you and you see progress. It's gonna change your mindset on
Mhm.
what you're gonna do next. Because
Right.
if you fully trust in your plan, because it's always gonna coincide with God.
Mhm.
That's just how it works. Like I said, he knows everything you're gonna do, you ever will do, you have done, uh, and you're just like, why you having me mess up? Why you having me be late? Why am I not getting everything right on this test? Or why am I
Mhm.
not performing perfect every day? Because it just takes the, I guess, the motivation out of it. Because if you're just doing everything perfect, it's not really enjoyable, I
Mhm.
would think. Because you would have to be tested to grow. That's how you grow.
Definitely.
That's how you grow as a person. Not just in uh, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually. Um, I feel like I've grown the more I've been in college mostly. Um,
Me too.
I've really been tested a lot.
Mhm.
There's been times where I've just wondered, is this it for me? Where am I actually at? Where what direction, what path am I taking? And then
Right.
having that moment or moments with God and just talking to him, reading in scripture, talking with uh whatever youth pastor you have. Um, it really helps clear your mind and just
Mhm.
give you a breather so you can refocus on what your main goal is, how you can achieve it, how can I better myself? How can I okay, I messed up here. Well, what can I do to help fix it? How much work will it take? However long.
Mhm. Yeah, and I also think that both of us could speak to the transferring situation with kind of I would be lying to you if I said my plan A was I'm gonna go to Valdosta State, stay there for 2 years, then transfer to Roosevelt and Chicago and this and that. Like that wasn't what I wrote down on paper, you know. But the plan is to play to play college basketball at the next level and fulfill my greatest potential with the sport. You know, like obviously I have other goals in life as well, but as far as it comes to basketball, that's the plan. And you didn't plan that you were going to transfer, I'm sure, like that you were going to go to McNeese State and that you would be living in a completely different town
No.
and whatever, you know? Like I didn't see myself living in Chicago when I was coming out of high school, coming going was it ending my senior year, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's still part of the plan A. And I think that kind of letting go of the structure that is so commonly associated with this is the plan, like
Hmm.
a plan isn't always like this I'm going to write this down exactly detail for detail, this is how it's going to go. I think it can sometimes be a vague ambition, desire, dream, and you kind of let the uncertainty and the things happen how they happen. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, you stay in the present as best you can
Hmm.
and just try to take it day by day, you know?
Taking it one step at a time. But
Mm
it's always the unexpected whenever you're
hmm. Mm hmm.
happens whenever you're whenever you're going through your goal, going through your plan, working at uh whenever you need to. It's so there's always roadblocks, adversities, and you know, like you said with the transferring, never really expected myself to transfer, but it is the situation that happened, and
Mm
I am trying to make the best of this
hmm. Mm hmm.
because you can't just sit here and just be like, well, what do I do now? You got to be able to adapt because it's more like how you react to it.
Mm hmm.
be like, well, I gotta start over. Yeah, it's not just starting over. It's just adjust. You got to be
Mhm.
able to adjust. You got to be able to uh, evolve, develop
Mhm.
yourself. Can't just stay the same structured goal because not everything will go according to plan. Like there will be times where things just won't work out, and you just have to be able to accept that that's reality, that that's how
Right.
life is.
And that also reminded me of kind of one of the more recent podcasts. It was about the uncertain. I actually did two different podcasts about uncertainty, seasons of uncertainty, and then just trusting in the unknown type of thing. Sometimes the most beautiful things happen when you don't know what's going to happen, you know? And
Hmm.
sometimes if you plan out every little thing and it goes according to plan, there was something way bigger and way better for you in store had you just let go of that and just, like you said, taken it one step at a time and just been present in whatever moment or experience that you're currently in. Um, and then I guess just moving on to the final topic, what would be your advice for any young athletes who have big aspirations similar to what you did when you were in high school of playing college football or playing college sports?
I would say focus a lot on school because
Mhm.
the higher your GPA is, the better you do in the SAT, ACT. Definitely focus on those because the more academic, um, the higher you are uh, academically, the more choices you will have in schools. So
Mhm.
just more opportunities. Because you could always develop as an athlete. Like
Mhm.
coaches will always say, yeah, we will train you. Um, but I mean, I wouldn't say just like focus on just school. Like you're gonna have to work hard in your sport. But that's something that I've experienced a lot of uh like teammates who have just focused on football or just focus on whatever sport they're playing. They forget that they're student athletes. Student comes first. I know that's like a cliche saying the student comes first over athlete, but it's true. Another thing is don't learn how to manage your time.
Mhm.
That's you're gonna hear it from anyone, any coach, any advisor, counselor, recruiter. They're gonna be like, you're gonna need to learn how to manage your time correctly because because it's completely different from high school where it's structured, bell schedule, and then right after practice or right before, you have workouts and stuff, and then the whole day just on a schedule. But once you're in college, it's a lot of each day is like completely different. Basically, you're gonna have to adjust yourself with when you're gonna eat, how much time you have to rest between class and then class and whatever sport you're playing, whether it requires meetings, workouts, extra workouts in the morning.
Mhm.
But that's definitely something I would want young athletes to know is they need to learn how to see what's more of a priority. Be able to prioritize what's important, not what
Mhm.
they want, but what they need to get done.
Yeah,
And
oh, sorry. Keep going.
and to make sure you enjoy it. Make sure you enjoy what you're doing. Because there's always I'm playing for my family. I'm playing for my friend because of some situation. That's all. It's all great motivators, but I would want athletes to focus on, do they really love their sport? Do you
Mhm.
really enjoy doing the same routine year in, year out, preseason, putting in all that work? Do you love it? Because if you don't
Mhm.
love it, then it's going to be pretty miserable if you're just doing something you don't, because then it just
Definitely.
becomes, I don't know, it's not fun.
And I think it's okay for high school athletes and young athletes to have their, like, quote unquote plan A of playing in college be tested, you know? Like, for me, it was tested when I tore my ACL my senior year. Like, how bad do I really want to play? How bad do I really want to work back and try to make this work, you know? Um, and I wouldn't say that that last piece of advice should discourage anyone, but look at yourself in the mirror and ask, what do you really want?
Hmm.
I feel like for most people that are big dreamers or ambitious people, you have some sort of a vision or like a seed planted within you, like whether that vision is something God put on your heart or something that you've just always wanted to do. Don't let anything like deter you from that, you know? And yeah, it's going to be hard. There's going to be some days that you don't want to do it, but if that's what your plan A is, stay patient. And like Elijah said, I think taking care of your school and taking care of, you know, your time and doing the right thing consistently is never gonna backfire on you. Like, I think that'll always open more doors than it'll close them. And it'll open the right doors. It'll open doors to environments and schools where you're gonna be able to grow in that aspect as well. Um, but yeah, that was some great advice. Thank you for that.
Anytime, anytime.
Um, okay, so I'm just gonna wrap up the podcast. Also, I just wanted to give a shout out for anyone listening that encourages me, and also Elijah, like anyone that has ever, I guess, poured that belief and that hope into me when I was down or when I was discouraged or going through some sort of adversity with my path, and especially with basketball. Um, so yeah, shout out to you guys. You know who you are.
Yes.
But today on the podcast, we discussed the power and importance of trusting and investing and leaning onto your plan A, whether that's an ambitious goal in sports or in your career or really in any aspect of life or a combination of all of those. We also learned a little bit about Elijah and his background and learned some valuable tips about playing football at the next level and setting yourself up for success with that. So, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for the next episode on the Live with Grace podcast.